Week 11 of the 2017 NFL season is in the books, and I'm here to tell you what happened. Let's go ahead and get started off with 4th and 10. I'm going to say this about the Cleveland Browns. I talked about before, whatever analytics their front office is using, they're not working. They're 1-25 since the start of the 2016 season. This team is terrible. This organization is terrible. I've now reached the point that Hugh Jackson's got to go. Everybody involved with that front office needs to go. But most importantly of all, for the Cleveland Browns, how dare the skid marks allow the Detroit Lions to be the sole team with an 0-16 season back in 2008. It only seems right, it only seems fair that in the 17 plus 18 years of total and complete primary ineptitude by this organization, that they would join the fray of the winless teams, along with the 76 Buccaneers at 0-14, but more importantly, that 2008 Lions team. The Lions didn't deserve to have that 0-16 hung on them. The Cleveland Browns do. Come on, skid marks, you got 6 games to go. Let's make some history happen, because you deserve it. The Ravens pitched their 3rd shutout of the season. They're putting themselves into the playoff mix, even though their offense is terrible. I don't care if it was against Brett Hundley and the Green Bay Packers. The fact is, shutting out 3 different NFL teams in a season is impressive stuff. Their defense is good enough to take them somewhere in the playoffs. Unfortunately, Joe Flacco and that offense may potentially keep them home. A really impressive performance Sunday afternoon at home by the New Orleans Saints, where the Redskins had them dead to rights. That game was over. Manti Te'o makes the big stop after the Saints had scored a touchdown. I mean, they were down 15 with only a few minutes left. Drew Brees leads them down the field, touchdown. Stop on 3rd down. Then we go down the field again. Brees leads them to a touchdown, 2-point conversion, overtime, Bob's your uncle. And the Saints did what really good teams do. Found a way to not give up. They played 60 minutes. They played more than 60 minutes, unlike the Redskins in this case. And they won a game they had no business winning. And now you're talking about the Saints at 8-2. We must take them seriously because they have earned it. Speaking of teams that have earned being taken seriously, both the Vikings and the Rams who faced off on Sunday. You're talking about teams leading their division. You're talking about teams that have a lot of things going for them. The Vikings came out on the better end of it. And for Case Keenum and Jared Goff, one thing has to be for sure. Even though Case Keenum had the better day and Case Keenum's team won, they must both be thankful that they are out of the stink of Jeff Fisher. Because look at where their careers are going, getting out from the umbrella of that Jeff Fisher stink. I'm just saying. Big history made on Sunday in a losing effort, whereas Larry Fitzgerald on his touchdown catch passed, I can't remember who was 5th before, but he is now 5th all-time in receiving yards in NFL history. And he's going to very quickly here in the next couple of games pass, I believe it's Isaac Bruce, who's number 4, and Randy Moss, who is number 3. It's just craziness. Larry Fitzgerald, you just think about it, what would have happened if he didn't have so many lost years in Arizona with crappy quarterback play? Just imagine the numbers this guy could have put up. We would maybe be talking about him as the 2nd best wide receiver of all time behind Jerry Rice, and I mean that. It was great to hear that he signed a 1-year contract extension, meaning he'll be back for all intents and purposes in 2018. That's great, because it gives us more time to appreciate Larry the Legend. And I know Larry Legend is Larry Bird, but Larry Fitzgerald is a legend. And we have to appreciate however much longer he is going to play, because to me, he is worth the price of admission. A true pros pro, beyond a shadow of a doubt, and nothing but good things to say about him. And so glad to see him be able to get these achievements at the end of his career and get the recognition that he is so rightfully deserved. Speaking of teams that got recognition early in the year, but now you really start to wonder about them, the Kansas City Chiefs. They were one of the last teams to be undefeated. In fact, weren't they the last team to be undefeated in the league? They had the first few games of the season, everything going for them. People are talking about Alex Smith as an MVP candidate. This is finally going to be the year for the Kansas City Chiefs. And then they go into MetLife on Sunday and choke. That's what it is, flat out. It's a choke. They lost to a hapless doesn't give a crap New York Giants football team. Couldn't even put 10 points up on the board. You lost to the Giants in damn overtime, a Giants team that doesn't care, that is just counting down the games until the end of the season. And you had to come back and hit a field goal late to even send the game to overtime to score 9 freaking points. You're at 6-4. The good news for you is, honestly, the AFC West is trash. The Broncos are terrible. They're a mess. The Raiders are a mess at this point. Honestly, your biggest threat probably comes from the Chargers, and you still have a 2-game lead on them. You have to wonder how much longer the Kansas City Chiefs can go with Alex Smith. If there was ever a time to go with Mahomes and roll the dice, it would be right here, right now. Because they're getting back into game manager, non-explosive Alex Smith. And if the Chiefs do that, it's going to be another quick exit for them in the playoffs. The Broncos lost another game, this time at home to the Cincinnati Bengals. The Broncos are just a mess. Offensively, what can you say? They made Mike McCoy the offensive coordinator. They scapegoat and fired him early Monday morning, which I guess is fine. But then you have to wonder, who's the one that signed off on having a bunch of mediocre quarterbacks in Denver and expected that to be a good idea? Just saying. The Patriots went into Mexico City and smashed the Oakland Raiders. While there's going to be a lot of talk about Marshawn Lynch sitting for the American national anthem, standing for the Mexican national anthem, the bottom line is, once he got on the field, he really didn't do shit, and the Raiders didn't do shit, and that's what matters the most. The Patriots defense is starting to come to life. Tom Brady is Tom Brady. He is Tom Terrific. He is a legit MVP candidate. Again, no big surprise there. And the Patriots are sitting there at 8-2 like you would expect them to be. Then Sunday night, the Eagles went into Dallas, and they smashed the Cowboys in the second half. Whereas the first half of the game, it was kind of mucked up, it was kind of ugly, and you look at it and you say, the Cowboys might find a way to win this. And what a huge victory that would be for them in the grand scheme of the playoff race, in the grand scheme of the divisional race, in the grand scheme of so many different things, being able to make a statement and saying, hey, we can find a way to win games without Ezekiel Elliott. Well, they've been without Zeke for 2 games, and they've got smashed in 2 of them. They got destroyed in that second half. And the Cowboys look to be heading down the path of a very, very lost season. But nothing can be worse than the spectacularness of the failure that was Nathan Peterman for the Buffalo Bills this past Sunday in Los Angeles. You want to talk about a gift being handed to the Chargers. Sean McDermott took black Alex Smith, by that I mean Tyrod Taylor, and benched him. Yes, the offense had not performed very well against the Jets and the Saints the past couple of weeks, but that totally negates the fact that the defense have been absolutely terrible, and at least Tyrod Taylor doesn't turn the ball over a ton. And typically in the NFL, we talk about how if you win the turnover battle, you usually win. Well, with Tyrod Taylor, you typically win the battle of turnovers, because while he doesn't make a lot of big plays, he doesn't make a lot of bad big plays. But of course you put in Nathan Peterman, and he proceeds to throw 5 interceptions in the first half. And you got boat raced. A team sitting at 6th in the playoff race. Good enough probably to squeak in as a wild card team. Sean McDermott rolled the dice unnecessarily, foolishly, because apparently he doesn't know how to actually really coach and get more out of his team. He's trying to make statements. Well, you made a statement here, Sean McDermott, and that statement is you are a dumbass. And you deserve all the shit you get from the media, from fans, for that disaster that happened Sunday in Los Angeles. And now you're talking about you're still going to evaluate. Well, what the hell is there to evaluate with the quarterback position? You just sent out a young 5th-round pick to throw 5 picks in the first half, and you think there's a debate or discussion about who should start your next game? Give me a freaking break. I'm surprised the Pagulas didn't leave him in Los Angeles, because that's what the hell I would have done. Because that is just beyond ridiculous and one of the most idiotic, dumb decisions we've seen a head coach make in the league in quite some time. It'd be different if you had some young stallion waiting in the wings, or Tyrod Taylor had truly been terrible, or you were out of the playoff race, or any one of these things that aren't applicable to the Buffalo Bills 2017 season. Unbelievable. But anyways, moving on. The winners from week number 11, the Pittsburgh Steelers. They smashed the Titans on Thursday night. And now you're looking at a Steelers team that's 8-2 right now. They control their own destiny, not only obviously in the AFC North, but for home field advantage throughout the playoffs. The Steelers are legit. They are easily the single biggest threat in the AFC to the New England Patriots. I don't know how anybody's going to dispute that at this point in time. The Baltimore Ravens, with the Bills and their mess, and then being able to go into Lambeau and shut out the Packers, now they're in the playoff mix, and that's the third time they've shut out a team this year. That's big. And then you look at the Minnesota Vikings. That was a marquee matchup Sunday in the early afternoon slate of games. They beat the Rams, and they beat them pretty good. I mean, they pulled away from them in the second half ultimately, but you're talking about the Minnesota Vikings with Case Keenum are now 8-2. Who the hell would have thought that would have happened? And even for the Rams, you're still 7-3. Your young future face of the franchise is playing very well. You got a lot of things going for you. That's what made that victory for the Vikings so important. You're at home. You're taking on a hot team with a young quarterback and a coach that clearly knows what the hell he's doing in Sean McVay. And you beat him, and you beat him handily by the time the game was done. Big, big win for the Minnesota Vikings. In terms of the losers, you got to look at the Kansas City Chiefs. I'm sorry, but at this point in time, you're 6-4. Maybe you could still win the division with Alex Smith. You probably would. And I don't want to just throw this all on Alex Smith, because that Chiefs defense has had many games in recent weeks where they've been bad. Offensively, they haven't done as good of a job getting Kareem Hunt involved, getting Tyreek Hill and Travis Kelce both involved in the same game. There are other issues at play, but it also speaks to the physical limitations of Alex Smith and his arm. I think about one play in particular that I saw on Sunday. As Alex Smith is rolling out to the left, Travis Kelce is open by like 15 yards, about 15, 20 yards down the field. And Alex Smith tries to throw across his body on the move to the left, and he throws a one-hopper, and I mean it hopped about 8 to 10 yards in front of Travis Kelce. A throw Patrick Mahomes could make. The type of play within a game that a team needs. Alex Smith can't make those plays. He cannot make enough explosive plays. And the timing seems to be perfect to me for the Chiefs to make that switch at quarterback, because there is still a cushion, there is still a buffer there. But you need to find a way to get more explosive big plays to happen in your offense. And newsflash, they're not going to happen with Alex Smith, because that's just not the quarterback he is. And your defense is not good enough at this point to be able to survive and thrive in the playoffs with Alex Smith as a game manager. If you think it is, you're crazy, because it's not. And to go into New York, New Jersey, whatever the hell, to MetLife and lose like that to a team like that, you have to be considered big losers. The Dallas Cowboys, they needed that game on Sunday night. It didn't happen. That division is out of reach, and very soon the playoffs are going to be out of reach, because I don't know how they're going to win a single game without Ezekiel Elliott, and especially without Tyron Smith. And then Sean McDermott. What more can I say? Loser, loser, should have been fired, pants on fire, loser. You made that decision, and it backfired that epically and spectacularly. You deserve to eat it, because you suck. In terms of the studs of the week, though, Drew Brees, 29-41, 385 yards, 2 touchdowns and a pick, leading the Saints to that late come-from-behind victory. I mean, Drew Brees is still playing at a very high level, but it's nice, isn't it, when you've got some balance in the running game. I've been complaining about this for the Saints team for years. Now you're able to run the football with Ingram and Kamara, and what a nice 1-2 combination that's proven to be. It's amazing how it helps everything else kind of balance out. Jordan Howard in a losing effort, one of the most underrated players in the National Football League. 15 carries, 125 yards, and a touchdown. It's a shame that the Bears have this franchise back and their offense is so terrible around him. Imagine how much more effective he could be, efficient he could be, if there was a real legitimate threat on the outside to actually throw the football down the field. Antonio Brown on Thursday night, 10 catches, 144 yards, 3 touchdowns. You saw the internet go crazy with one of his catches. Antonio Brown doing Antonio Brown things. And then the Ravens defense. Again, 3rd shutout of the year, this time on the road. It's tough to shut out anybody in the NFL on the road. I don't care who it is, but this is your 3rd shutout of the year. It's this defensive performance that may very well carry the Ravens to the playoffs, even if it means an early playoff exit. That defense, when they come to play, they're as good as anybody in the National Football League, if not the best, and the 3 shutouts indicate that's the case. But that's the week that was, Week 11 of the 2017 NFL season. Let me know what you thought about everything and some of the things that I said in this video in the comments below.